Alright, let's get into it. The whistle has blown, the dust has settled, and we've just witnessed what many are calling the final major test for this USMNT before the world descends upon our shores in 2026. The friendly against Belgium, a team consistently ranked among the world's elite, was never just a friendly. No, this was a litmus test, a measuring stick to see where we truly stand. We saw moments of brilliance, moments of frustration, and a whole lot of questions answered, and maybe a few new ones raised. This wasn't just 90 minutes of soccer, it was a glimpse into our future, a preview of the pressures and challenges that await on the grandest stage. This match was a crucible designed to forge and test the identity of this American team. Are we the dynamic, high-pressing unit that can trouble the giants, or are we a team still searching for the final pieces of the puzzle? The performance against the Red Devils, with their world-class talent like Bruyne and Lukaku, gave us a massive amount of data to dissect. It's about understanding our capabilities when the lights are brightest and the opponent is of the highest caliber. This is the kind of pressure we need to embrace, the kind of opposition we need to measure ourselves against consistently if we have any hope of making a deep run in 2026. So, what did we actually learn? That's what we're here to break down. We're going to dive deep into the 5 most important takeaways from this clash. We'll look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, from defensive frailties to attacking promise and the individual performances that could shape the roster for years to come. This isn't just a recap, it's an analysis of what this single game means for the entire 2026 project. So, grab a seat because we have a lot to talk about. Let's start with the area that had everyone holding their breath, the defense. Let's not beat around the bush here. Heading into this match without our 2 starting center backs was always going to be the biggest storyline, and unfortunately, it played out exactly as we feared. The absence of stalwarts like Chris Richards and Cameron Carter-Vickers, or whichever pairing you prefer, created a vacuum in the heart of our defense. The players who stepped in, while talented and deserving of their caps, showed a clear lack of chemistry and cohesion. Belgium's attackers, particularly the runners from midfield and the movement of their forwards, exploited the channels between our makeshift central pairing time and time again. Communication seemed off, and positional discipline was a constant struggle. You saw it in the small moments that add up to big problems. A missed assignment on a set piece, a second of hesitation when deciding who should step to the ball, a failure to track a runner cutting across the back line. These are the details that elite teams like Belgium feast on. It's one thing to be individually talented, but a center-back partnership is a specialized relationship built on hundreds of hours of playing together. You have to know your partner's tendencies without even looking. We simply didn't have that, and it resulted in our goalkeeper being put under immense pressure and the entire defensive shape looking reactive rather than proactive. It was a stark reminder that depth is not just about having names on a list, it's about having ready-made partnerships. This isn't an indictment of the individual players who filled in. It's a brutal illustration of the importance of consistency and health for our key personnel. We learned that our drop-off from the first-choice pairing to the next men up is significant, especially when it comes to the organizational aspect of defending. This match exposed a potential Achilles heel. If we face an injury crisis in 2026, can we survive? Based on this performance, it's a massive question mark. Finding and solidifying that 3rd and 4th center-back spot and getting them integrated into the system is now, without a doubt, one of the most critical tasks for the coaching staff over the next 2 years. Now, let's move up the pitch to the midfield, the engine room of this team. This is where the battle is so often won or lost, and against Belgium, we saw both the promise and the pitfalls of our current setup. The trio of Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, and Yunus Musa, when they're on, can compete with anyone in the world. Their energy, their ability to cover ground, and their tenacity in the tackle were on full display at times. We saw moments where they successfully disrupted Belgium's rhythm, winning the ball back high up the pitch and quickly trying to spring the attack. That's the identity of this team, and when it works, it's a beautiful thing to watch. However, the flip side of that coin was also evident. Against a technically superior midfield, our aggression sometimes led to being bypassed too easily. A clever turn from a Belgian player, a quick 1-2, and suddenly our midfield was chasing shadows, leaving that already vulnerable backline exposed. There were periods in the game where we struggled to maintain possession and control the tempo. The Belgians were comfortable letting us press, knowing they had the quality to play through it. This is the next evolution for our midfield. It's not just about winning the ball, but also about being more composed and intelligent once you have it. We need more guile, more patience, and a better understanding of when to press and when to hold our shape. The performance highlighted the strengths and weaknesses almost perfectly. The strength? Unmatched athleticism and a relentless work rate that can overwhelm teams. The weakness? A potential lack of poise and tactical discipline against the very best. Players like McKennie can create magic out of nothing, but the midfield as a unit needs to find that balance between chaos and control. It's a delicate dance. We need their fire and their fight, but we also need them to be the calming presence that dictates the flow of the game. This match showed we're not quite there yet, and developing that tactical maturity in the middle of the park is paramount. So, we've talked about the defense and the midfield, but what about putting the ball in the back of the net? This is where the story gets both encouraging and, honestly, incredibly frustrating. The good news is that we created chances. We weren't just sitting back and absorbing pressure for 90 minutes. We got into dangerous areas, we put their backline on its heels, and we showed that we have the pace and creativity to cause problems for a top-tier defense. Christian Pulisic was, as always, a constant threat, driving at defenders and really looking to make something happen. We saw promising link-up play between the wingers and our striker. The problem, and it's a familiar one, was the final product. The final pass was just slightly off, the shot was rushed, or the wrong decision was made in a critical moment. We had 2, maybe 3, clear-cut opportunities where you felt we had to score, and we just didn't. That's the difference at this level. Belgium had a handful of chances, and they were clinical. We had a similar number, and honestly, we were wasteful. It's the story of so many USMNT games against elite opposition. We do the hard work to get into position, but the composure and ruthlessness in front of goal just isn't there yet. This is less about a lack of talent, and more about developing a killer instinct. It's about that split second of composure to take an extra touch, or the awareness to see a teammate in a better position. These are the margins that decide World Cup knockout games. The fact that we are creating these opportunities is a huge positive. It means the system is working to a degree. But the next, and most important step is converting them. Whether it's finding a truly reliable, in-form number 9, or just getting more clinical finishing from our talented wingers and attacking midfielders, turning these opportunities into goals is the single biggest key to unlocking our potential on the world stage. In a high-profile game like this, the spotlight shines brighter on individual performances. It's where you separate the guys who can handle the pressure from those who might not be ready for this level. On the positive side, even in a loss, you had to be impressed once again with the engine of Tyler Adams. His ability to cover ground, to break up plays, and to be a general nuisance to a world-class midfield is truly elite. He is the anchor of this team, and his importance really cannot be overstated. When he's on the field, the entire team just feels more secure, more confident in their ability to play our aggressive style. On the other end of the spectrum, while it's tough to single out players in a makeshift backline, the communication breakdown was a collective failure. No single defender who stepped in truly seized the opportunity to make a case for a starting spot. They looked like players who weren't used to playing alongside each other, which, to be fair, they weren't. It wasn't a lack of effort, but a lack of familiarity that hurt them. This performance likely solidified the existing hierarchy at center back and raised the urgency for the established starters to stay healthy. It was a tough night for anyone trying to break into that defensive core. Then you have the curious case of our number 9. The striker position continues to be a revolving door, and while our forward put in a decent shift with his hold-up play and movement, the lack of a genuine goal threat was palpable. When your best chances are falling to wingers or midfielders, it puts an immense amount of pressure on them to be perfect. This match didn't give us a definitive answer in the striker debate. It simply reiterated the question, who is going to be the guy to consistently score the goals for this team? The search continues, and this game made it clear that we haven't found our man just yet, which is a major concern as we look towards 2026. So, what's the final verdict? What do we take away from this 90-minute stress test as we look down the long road to 2026? The biggest lesson is one of clarity. This match didn't shatter our hopes, but it did provide a very sober and realistic assessment of where we stand. We learned that our first choice 11, when healthy and in form, can hang with the best. We have the athleticism, the technical skill in key areas, and the tactical framework to compete. The identity is there. We are a high-energy, transitional team that looks to cause chaos. That's a good foundation to build upon. However, the second, and perhaps more crucial lesson, is about our depth and our execution. We learned that the drop-off from our starters to our reserves in critical positions, specifically at center back, is a significant vulnerability. A single injury to a key player could dramatically alter our prospects. The World Cup is a tournament of attrition, and squad depth is not a luxury, it's a necessity. We need to cultivate more options and ensure those players are tactically integrated long before the tournament begins. This friendly exposed the fault lines that could crack under the sustained pressure of a World Cup. Ultimately, the lesson for the team, the coaches, and the fans is one of ruthless refinement. We know the system, we know the core players. The next 2 years must be about sharpening the blade. It's about turning those half chances into goals. It's about improving the decision-making in the final third. And it's about solidifying the defensive partnerships and backup plans, so we're prepared for the inevitable challenges of a major tournament. This loss to Belgium wasn't a failure. It was a lesson. It was a necessary, and perhaps painful, dose of reality that provides a clear and focused blueprint for what needs to be done between now and the opening whistle of the 2026 World Cup. So, there you have it, my 5 big takeaways from the USA versus Belgium match. It was a game that gave us a lot to think about, a lot to be excited about, and a lot to be concerned about as we march towards 2026. This is the kind of challenge we need. Playing against the best is the only way to become one of them. While the result on the scoreboard wasn't what we wanted, the lessons learned from these 90 minutes are invaluable. This is all part of the process, part of the journey of building a team that can make a real meaningful run on home soil. But that's just my take on it. The beauty of this game is that everyone sees it a little differently. What did you see out there? What was your biggest takeaway from the performance? Was there a player who impressed you that I didn't mention? Or maybe you disagree with one of my points. I want to hear it all. The debate and the discussion are what make being a fan so great. So, head down to the comments section right now and let me know your thoughts. Let's get a real conversation going about the state of this team. And hey, if you enjoy this kind of in-depth analysis and want to stay up to date on everything related to the USMNT's journey to the 2026 World Cup, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We'll be here every step of the way, breaking down the games, analyzing the roster, and tracking the progress of our national team. It's going to be an exciting couple of years, and you won't want to miss any of it. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep the faith.